For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ed Lodgen. I used to be Eddie. My first session was back in 1990, and it is so good to see so many of you older people here. I've served on the board of trustees as the chair and the vice chair. Through camp, I met my ex-wife. Some of you may know her. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today, but our daughter is, and she served her first session this past summer. So, and I know there are a few other second generations here, Molly, Elizabeth, and so give yourselves a big round of applause. So we are very excited to have so many people here. When the staff first started putting this together, they really didn't know what the turnout or response would be. I think the staff expected somewhere between 50 and 100 people. And this thing sold out in July, and we had nearly 400 people. And I really do want to just give a quick thank you to all the office staff, Fatima, Nicole, Jasmine, Jingles, Chad, Shannon, who am I missing? And we've got Sarah is here, our past executive director. Sarah, you are certainly missed and always welcome. Sarah. Sarah's throwing me off my game. But of course, there's one person I really did want to mention, the guy who really served as the camp director for Storm and program director, and was really inspirational to what this place is all about. The other half of the lovely Corey, where are you? The father of the original second generationers. The man behind the curtain, Mr. Brian Trader. I also want to welcome and thank some past and present board members. I know we have, I saw Steve and Jim Moore, who may have served on the first board. So if you ever served on the board, please stand up and be acknowledged for all of your service. We may even have some board members from the LA house or the other houses, and I know I just saw him. He snuck in. We have our Chief Executive Officer of the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Southern California, the man who has truly united the houses in the camp and brought us one big happy family, Mr. Vince Bryson. We've got a ton of people who are here as campers, as volunteers, as staff. We've got people who work the med shed. We could not be here without the med shed support, the nurses, the doctors, all those scrape knees, bee stings. You guys have really helped us together. Thank you all for your support and being here. So it's really because of all of you that has made camp what it is. It's not just this beautiful location and this facility, but it's a place where healing happens and the love of camp that has taken place. As Monica's sun-kissed, look at her shot, has said, it's cancer is what connects us, but it's camp that brings us together. So I'm sure I forgot somebody, so bear with me and help me out here. If you are here today, please stand up. Stand up. Come on. Give yourselves a big round of applause. years or more, keep standing. Everybody else. If you have been involved with camp for 10 years or more, keep standing. 15 years or more, keep standing. Okay, we still have half the room standing. 20 years or more, please. Okay, look around. This is amazing, this history. 25 years or more, please keep standing. 30 years or more. Give yourself a round of applause. This is our 35th anniversary, and I know there are people who have been here more than 35 years. Who are you? Please stand up. There's Barbara, Fran, Susie, Mom, but there's one person I really have to acknowledge. He is a true leader in supportive care and research in the field of pediatric oncology. He has served at many, many hospitals. He was the chief of oncology at Children's for 35 years. He was the head of pediatric oncology at the Keck School of Medicine, USC. We won't hold the USC part against him. He is the author of many books, a speaker. He has served on the camp board, the LA Ronald McDonald House Board, the board of the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Southern California, the national board, and even the international board of Ronald McDonald House Charities. I have not confirmed this, but I do believe he is responsible for bringing down the Death Star and stopping the war. And I know he is a man who wears no socks. Right? Come on, somebody, some old camper, help me out. I said, I know a man who wears no socks. I was there when he took them off. He threw them in a big old hamper and created a magical, magical place for thousands and thousands of campers. Ladies and gentlemen, a man who needs no further introduction, who is truly responsible for this place, along with the help of several others. It is my honor and my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Stuart!
Thanks, Eddie. Actually, where's Fran?
Right here.
Fran's great triumph.
Keep it honest, Stu.
Huh?
Keep it honest.
Yeah. Fran's great triumph in life at camp was to get the former chief of pediatrics at Children's and myself in UCLA t-shirts and get a picture of us. And then circulate it everywhere. Right, Fran?
Right.
True. So, 35 years ago, I was a pediatric hematologist oncologist at Children's, running the program there, and fortunately I also have helped start the Southern California Children's Cancer Services, which is the predecessor to Ronald McDonald House Charities of Southern California. And we just built the LA Ronald McDonald House, which is the first of our now 6 Ronald McDonald Houses that we have in Southern California. We're the largest chapter, by the way, of Ronald McDonald House Charities in the country, I think, in the U.S. Yes, and that's true. And our board was thinking about what are we going to do next. And I had the opportunity, fortunately, to talk at that time again with Dr. Ed Lodgen, who was a colleague of mine in Chicago, and was actually the person who first told me about Ronald McDonald House, because he started the second house, and then I met Audrey Evans, and we heard about the first house. Ed had just started a camp for kids with cancer in Chicago that was for 1 week a year in southern Wisconsin. And he was telling me about the experience they were having with the camp, and I immediately related to that because I hate to say it, I was a Boy Scout, and I remember how much I loved camp. It was my favorite thing of all, and I think it was because, and I think you all can relate to it, it was because it was the time when you really got to develop as a person, on your own, away from your family, really figuring out who you are and what you could do. And so I remembered how important that was, and I thought about these kids that a lot of us take care of. And I thought about the fact that they're often isolated, there are not many kids around them who've dealt with this problem. They're certainly scared of what's going on, anxious of what's going on. They've lost a lot of their self-esteem because of what they've had to go through, and some of them are quite physically challenged. And so their opportunity to go to camp like I did, and many of you may have done, just wasn't there. It was not a safe environment for them to go, for their families to feel that they could go to. So I thought, wow, this is really something that we need. This is something the kids that I take care of need, and I knew that, and I looked at the camp and the Ronald McDonald houses, all of that, as part of the treatment that I as a doctor had to give to those kids, because you're not just treating their bodies, you're not just treating them with medicine, you're not treating them with all the medical treatment, clinical treatment we provide, you're also treating their soul, because you have to heal their souls as much as you have to heal their bodies. Otherwise, you're not successful. So the camp just fit in perfectly with that. And it also fit in with the needs of the parents and the siblings. And we found out more and more as we got into camp how important that part was too, because you had siblings who saw their brother or sister going through this terrible stuff. Often they had to sort of step back a little bit and didn't get the attention of the family that they got before because of the focus on the family. They saw their brother or sister go up to the camp and come back and have a wonderful time. And actually, I think what changed us into saying we've got to have siblings in camp was when we heard some of them come back and tell their parents, well, I wish I had cancer so I could go to camp. We said, got a wrong message. So we said, boy, we better get those siblings up to camp. And we did, and we eventually brought them up with their brother or sister who was a patient. And we also realized that there are younger kids who couldn't come to a sleepaway camp and whose families wanted to be part of this, and we started a family camp. And that's how this program evolved. It evolved through a lot of hard work and understanding of what people were going through. Now I have to tell you, this idea of a camp came up in early 1982, and I brought it to the board of our charity after I heard it from Ed Lodgen, and our board really stepped up. And I will say that sort of the key person who stepped up was Edmondson, who actually got a group of her friends together and raised the money in about 4 months, I think it was total, for us to start the camp. We really thought we wouldn't start the camp until the following year. But she raised the money, we identified a place to rent for our camp, Caloritos, as many of you realized, and in 1982 we had our first camp, 60 kids. Those of us who are here, and I want to pay particular credit to Barbara. Where's Barbara? Barbara, you stand back. To get the camp started, to get the program started, to figure out how we were going to deal with these kids, Barbara and I were partners in this. We both could not have done it without each other. We realized that we needed both the medical and the nursing side, the healthcare professional side involved in this. But we really did not know what to expect. We honestly did. There were people who said, you're going to get a group of kids with cancer together, it's going to be depressing, we're going to get upset, because we'll hear what other kids are going through, it'll be terrible. And what about the counselors? None of them have ever experienced it. They were kids from college and some professionals out working, but never had experienced any of this. We really did not know how it would go. Well, I think as many of you heard me say, the session went so well that at the end of 1 week, as we stood there waiting to get on the buses, all the campers, all the staff were crying. Literally, every one of us was crying because we didn't want to leave. We wanted to stay. And we knew that camp was meeting the need. We knew it was going to work. It worked for everybody. And it was really that success that propelled us forward to then expand the camp program to what it is. So we knew the need was there. The sessions multiplied. For the first, 15 years of the camp, 20 years, we were kind of a vagabond camp. Barbara had a RV, sort of an RV, a small RV that was our traveling ned shed, that had everything else in it too. And it would travel from camp to camp to we rented, and we had to unload it and load it back on. It was like a traveling service. But about 15 years ago, we realized in the 1990s, we realized we needed a permanent site because our sessions had expanded. We were year-round. We were adding sibling sessions, and then we brought the siblings in, so we expanded our regular sessions, our family camp, we even had specialty camps. And so we entered onto a search for a permanent site. I don't want to tell you how many possible permanent sites we visited to look at. We had everything. Some of you have heard we had a site overlooking the ocean in Malibu. There were several sites up in the San Bernardino Mountains, and then of course the famous Rock Ranch and that odyssey that we went through. There were probably at least 10 sites we looked at before we found this site, and had our camp here for a couple of years rental and realized that this was the right place. It gave us the right environment, the right topography, and it was in an area where we were welcomed by the community, by the local community, including in Idlewild, by Mr. Garner, who owned this whole valley, except for this camp, who rode in as an Indian chief on a horseback. That's the first campfire we had here. That's how much he was really excited about us being here. His family is still supportive of us. We have our hikes through their property. And then the county of Riverside and even the legislators, the local, state, and federal legislators of this area were all supportive to it. So we really felt this was the right place. I think our decision has stood up over time. So that really is how we got to where we are right now. I think that we didn't get there by just letting it happen. We had tremendous support, and I do want to finish up by taking the opportunity to really thank the people who really made this camp possible. I was there at the beginning, but this camp never would have happened without the enthusiasm and support of a lot of people. Certainly I want to give credit to Ed Lodgen, who actually gave me the idea, or at least brought the idea up to me in the first place. I'm not sure I would have thought about it had he not told me about his experience. I want to thank boards of directors from 1982 on, and I'm including not just the camp board, but the support of the Ronald Shires of Southern California board. We were the first ones to bring a camp into the Ronald McDonald House family. There are now, I think, 2 others, if I'm not mistaken. But we were the first, and what's more, I think people said, camp, it's not a house. Where does it belong here? And I think it was really our board who understood how the camp program fit into the well-being of all these children, bringing them well-being and their families, that really made this possible, and the support that they provided. I also want to thank a tremendous number of staff. Some of them are here today. I particularly want to point out Susan Kaplan, who's one of our original staff. Administrative director for many years. She did a lot of other things. I won't go into detail, but she did a lot of other things for us that were fantastic. And it's just wonderful to see this. It's a real treat. I also certainly want to thank Pepper for her efforts in getting the camp started. As I said, she was many donors, all the way from a few dollars to people initially to big donors like ASNF that you see is helped donate to this building, the LA Kings. ASNF is also donating. ASNF is going to be donating to our next phase of construction as well, so we're pretty excited about that. Our office staff, and particularly our camp staff, we've always said we have really great facilities, but I think all of you know that what's great about our camp is the program. We have the best program. I want to thank Brad, Chad, and all the staff that has really contributed. Finally, want to thank our volunteers. You know, most of our camp staff for our camping session are volunteers from the community. Lots of college kids, a lot of people who started out when they were in college and are now, older like me, and let's say more aged and more wise. Who are still with us today from the very beginning. I want to thank all of them, and I also want to thank our volunteer doctors and nurses. And I personally want to thank them because, as mentioned before, without the doctors and nurses, we could not have the camp session. We just could not. And so I want to thank several that are here today. You're already heard from Barbara, Fran Wiley. Barbara and Fran are stalwart champions, and they both keep me in mind. At least Fran likes to think she keeps me in mind. But also the doctors, because it's very hard for doctors and nurses to come up to camp and take time out of work. And now they actually have to take time out of work. They don't even get vacation credit largely for this. So I think when you see the doctors and nurses up here at camp, please take time to thank them. But I have to also say that they get something out of camp, because they get to see these kids and these families in an environment they are not normally in, see them in the hospital where lots of other terrible, sometimes good, but a lot of terrible things go on. They get to see these families as I do, and the kids here in an environment that you can really see the true person, and it's very exciting. I want to finish by just saying, giving you a couple of camp stories. I can't get away from camp stories. We've all got gazillion, but nice camp stories. They really illustrate to me, personally, the impact the camp has had. Some of you heard me tell the story of two young girls that I had, two teenage girls, early on in camp, both of whom had radical surgeries of their bladder due to bladder cancer, and no longer had a bladder. They had a pouch with a bag attached to collect the urine in those days. One of them had dealt with this beautifully and was not afraid to show this to people and certainly to her cabinmates. The other one was exactly the reverse. She was very embarrassed, afraid, would not be anywhere, would take a shower by herself, would not be anywhere where she had to show it. Obviously, we decided to put both of them in the same category. No instructions to the counselors, no structure, just in the cabin together. By the end of the session, the girl, the teenager who could not let anybody know about this, was fully comfortable in showing this to people, and got away from all that embarrassment. And it was her mother who said the line that a lot of us have heard from parents, and that is, "What did you do to my kid? What happened there?" Well, that's the kind of thing that happened. One last story. I just was a camp doctor 2 sessions ago, and just to show you this continues to happen, there was a young man, a young early teenage boy, very bright, I mean extremely super bright, but also extremely anxious and nervous and having all sorts of anxieties. Came up to camp, it was the first time at camp, and was super anxious, couldn't sleep. The counselor brought him to the med shed because he couldn't sleep. He just couldn't get to sleep. We sat down, the nurses and I, we talked for a while and got him to sort of talk about himself. He unfortunately had to be very open about the problems he was having, this anxiety. Spent about an hour talking to him. He went back to the cabin. We never saw him again. He slept like a log the entire camp session after that. That's what camp can do. because it really gives you the environment to feel safe and to talk about what you're going through and not feel like you're alone or embarrassed. So with that, I just want to thank all of you, every one of you, for one way or the other, making camp possible and continuing to make camp possible. And it's going to be here as long as there's a need.
I always usually start off this way, and it's kind of strange to do as soon as in the room, but for those of you who I haven't had the chance to meet, my name is Brian Prater. I was asked to be so to say the least, this day is very overwhelming. To see so many wonderful, amazing individuals, all campers and volunteers and supporters all in one place, really kind of celebrating this movement that we call Camp Ronald McDonald. And I just want to thank you all for taking time to be here. I know there were so many others that wanted to attend, and for different various reasons, and also capacity. We're sorry that everybody couldn't be here, but we know they're here in spirit. A couple things is that I just wanted to reflect about this day. This day really is a day of celebration. I think you've heard from Dr. Stu and also from Ed that we have a lot to celebrate. To be a part of a camp and organization that has had the opportunity to have an impact on so many lives. I think it's like 43,000 campers have come through the program over the years. To be recognized by presidents, by countries, to have TV shows done, and yes, I understand that Highway to Heaven's on Netflix now. And also just people that are so interested in what we want to do, and what we do is just very warming. I mean, there has been programs that have come to the programs that you've created and participated in to find out how it's done, so that they can go and take that and do that in other places. And this movement of helping and supporting these children and families has literally spread over the country and over the world in the last 35 years. And we've had a small hand, hopefully, in being inspirational about that and also learning along the way. So you should be very, very proud. It's also just a day also for us to kind of reconnect and to connect. And for me, this is grand because there's names that are here and people that I've grown up with as a part of this program and being having the pleasure to be on staff, but that have also raised my family and also have just taught me so much. As I look around this room, there are times when I have the pleasure to talk to people about the impact that the camping experience can have on children and families. And your faces come into my mind because it's the things that I've learned from you, the techniques and the spirit of just what it is to have care, to want to create comfort, and to want to challenge these kids that really has taken us through this 35 years, and I know will take us into the future. So to have you all here to celebrate that is really exceptional. I picked out a couple of notes that I just want to make sure. The other piece that I think about today is also a day to remember. There's also, I've been hearing the stories of people driving up in their cars and remembering that camp song. It's probably coming into your head right now. I'm not going to ask you all to share that. I've also had those that say, oh my gosh, I still teach my children those camp songs that we learned at camp. We're in our school classroom with what we did up at camp. I've had campers that have come up and said, can I use the 3 keys of success with my dorm mates? By the way, they should can. I think it's also just a time for me. It's been a wonderful opportunity to remember those opportunities of being able to comfort campers, to help them grow, whether or not that's been in cabins or around a campfire. For those of you that are campers, I know it's those relationships that's been in those conversations in the cabin at night, usually when the staff's out. But also just those knowing that somebody can understand and can relate, and you have that place that I like to call a second home. And I think that to remember that what makes that happen is really those conversations. It's really that coming at it from the right place and the right heart. And I want to say it's from those families and campers willing to open themselves up to that and to be here. I would be remiss if I didn't say that also in this time of remembering, I remember those that we have had the pleasure to work with and laugh with and play with that are not here, that we've lost to this disease, both campers and volunteers, and the lessons that they taught us. And I would just like to ask maybe if you could just take a minute with me, just for a minute, just for us to remember, because I know we all have those, of those kids that we work with, of those staff members that we work with who lost, just to remember them and to celebrate the time we had with them. Thank you. I will tell you it's those, and it's also the thought of those that we still need to serve that motivate me every day, that I think inspires this organization to take a look at our work's not done. And so that's why I take a look at moving forward. And we take a look at all the celebration and success we have, but there's still work to be done. And we're very fortunate, as I know we've talked and you've heard, that we found a home, a place, and taking a look at how we can make sure that this place provides the true comfort and care and support that families and the campers need. And so there's some things that we look at. Part of that is program development. I mean, it's the thing that besides just summer camp, I remember when I first came here, it was summer camp. And now going on, as you've heard, the family camps, both Spanish and English. And it's also taking a look at winter experiences. It's also the things that we're doing now with regards to reunion camps for families, so that they can recapture that and bring that forward. It's also engaging alumni like yourselves, and to make sure that these connections that we made don't end, but yet that magic can continue. It's also work that the organization is doing, that we're partnering with other organizations like CHLA and USC, Norris Comprehensive Cancer Center, taking a look at the need that now that we have those that are surviving, that they can truly thrive and move forward with young adult and adult retreats, that they can find that same magic here and that same kind of connection, and that it moves on just beyond camp. The other thing is to think about too is that we have also been looked to as an organization with our methods, with our facilities, and with our expertise, and how to make this happen for other organizations. You know, we partner now with the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation, what's known as WeCan, Muscular Dystrophy Association, Crohn's and Colitis, that are all looking to take and say, how can we do that? And I'm proud to say that they look to us and that we're responding to that and being able to support, not only just in theory, but also in action. With regards to the facilities we were talking about, yes, if you haven't heard, that we're lucky enough to be able to start looking and working diligently towards replacing and rehabilitating facilities from New Cabin Village, thanks to ASNF Foundation and some others, also to a new amphitheater and campfire area, thanks to Dr. Linda Riorta, and also McDonald House Charities. We'll also have things like a new equestrian training pavilion, thanks to and Jim Parks and Douglas Cantor and others, just to make it. They identify those needs, they see those needs, and they jump on board. And we have so much more to do. And that really comes down to the last thing I want to share is just with regards to the heart and soul of this organization that I've been so proud to be a part of. It's always focused on the camper. And Sue, I don't know where Sue Carlton is, but I have to say that Sue's probably the one that put it into words for me, and she was a volunteer so many years ago when we used to take a look at a certain program or a certain activity. Sue was always verifying that, and actually this is a screensaver on my computer for so many years, when she just looked at me and very bluntly said, so what's in it for the campers? And that has become a mantra for this organization. Always taking a look at what's needed and what is in it for our campers. All the way from the idea that this project will be cost-free to those that come up. We know the stress, the financial burden on our families, And to continue to do that is not easy. It takes a lot of dollars, it takes a lot of effort and gaining a lot of support and telling that story. And I know that many of you help and support us in that. And I say that as we look forward, we look to the future and the need that happens, we are going to look to you more, we're going to look to others more, and you guys know the magic of camp. You guys see what it does to the campers and also to you as volunteers and those of you that are supporters. We need your help into identifying those people. There's some materials that are on your table that you can help tell that story. You can find us in the staff. We've been fortunate, as you heard earlier, with our McDonald's partners, 10% of our revenues, thanks each year, come from McDonald's owners and operators. But that leaves a big hole, at least 90%, to make sure that every camper, every family that has the want and desire and the need for the support, that the door will be open. So thank you for your support. Thank you for continuing to stretch yourselves. But Lars, I ask you and I thank you for opening doors to others and to tell that story so that they can be a part of this family as we've had here. Lastly, I just want to say that we have all kinds of programs for you guys this afternoon. I wanted to kind of share a little bit about what those are. Of course, I think the biggest program is the stories being told around the tables, taking a look at the pictures. And yes, that's when I didn't have gray hair. Thanks for reminding me, Tom. Who that is. But we do have pictures over there. But we also have activities for you. We're going to be opening up archery. We're going to be doing monkey fists. And for those of you that aren't aware, I'd be very surprised, but many years ago, our good friend Bear brought to us a symbol to this camp that just means a lot with regards to friendship and internal strength, and also a little bit about taking camp home, and the symbol of the monkey fist, and we'll actually teach you how to make those. So if you're ready for a little arts and crafts, we have that going for you as well. We also have a 35th anniversary art and craft project out under the Big Tent. We'd like to invite